fiery debate in Parliament with AfriForum and members of the House, essentially saying that the debate, this is AfriForum, must be based on historical accuracy, accusing the MPs of posing what he called a straw man debate. Essentially, the allocation of land, the suggestion is based on freebies, and he was accused or accusing MPs of racism and intolerance. I just wonder very quickly whether AfriForum and an exchange like that, Professor, is helping matters at all, or is it simply polarizing the debate?
Well, absolutely. We are in a deeply racialized and polarized kind of situation around the land issue right now. I think that it's fair to say that black South Africans are mostly saying change the constitution, and white South Africans are saying protect the constitution, and neither of us are really engaging with the real politics of the issue. And I think that what we've been seeing over the past day or so has been in Parliament. We've had people saying protect the constitution, we are terrified that you're going to take away our land rights. And other people saying we should actually confront property interests and take away land rights from white owners. But the reality is, let's be clear, in South Africa we already have a system where government can expropriate land. We already have that system. In fact, it has existed since 1996. Since we had the new constitution in 1996. So government could have been expropriating land since 1996 in the interests of land reform. So one of our big divisions, I think, as a society, is that we are divided on this question of, is the problem the constitution, or is the problem the failure of government and the ANC in government to use the constitution to acquire land and to expropriate land in the interests of land redistribution?
So in other words,
and
Professor,
this is where we are divided.
In other words, Professor, has the issue been lost due to accelerated political expediency? Are you suggesting, in fact, we're having the wrong debate here?
Well, I think that over the past 6 months or so, there's been this very interesting process where the Constitutional Review Committee has been going around every province of the country and consulting people. And overwhelmingly, people have said, we want the Constitution to change. This has almost been like a poll that has been cast, where most people, and particularly black people, are saying, we want the Constitution to change. But the reality is that we haven't used the Constitution and the existing provisions of the Constitution to expropriate property in the interests of land reform. Why have we not done this? So we should sit back and think about, why has the ANC in government chosen not to use its powers of expropriation to advance a land reform agenda? And to this, few people have very clear answers. But what I would say is that what we're seeing within government and within Parliament right now is that we're seeing the acting out of a racial politics, and what we're seeing is people acting on various sides of the law. But actually the key question is, why should we change the Constitution? Do we need to change the Constitution? And my view is that actually quite a lot of people are defending the Constitution, assuming that it provides absolute blanket protection of property rights, which it does not do. And in fact, the Constitution provides the state with the power to expropriate land. So I think that we should be asking questions that are political. We should be asking our government, why, when there's a direct conflict between people who are claiming back land and people who own that land now, why is the government not expropriating?
In the short term, Professor Hall, how do you take the sting out of this argument? Over the past hour, we've witnessed extraordinary scenes in Parliament. Anger, hatred, accusation, intransigence. It's been very difficult and very harrowing for all race groups to watch. Have we got to a point of no return in this debate, where when we hear words like war and bring it on, can we walk it back?
Well, I think so, and actually, I would encourage people to go back to the ANC's position, and the ANC being our ruling party, the majority party in Parliament, in its position in December 2017, which said very clearly that expropriation of land shouldn't be the only mechanism, but it should be one mechanism available to the state to address the land reform issue. So I don't think that the ANC is saying that this is the only mechanism. It's saying, let us have expropriation of land as one mechanism. And when we expropriate, in some cases we will pay compensation, and in other cases we will not pay compensation. And it depends on the case. So I think that actually the ANC is driving quite a clear way forward on this issue of land expropriation. And I think that it would be of benefit to everyone if we were to listen to the ruling party and not to get too sidetracked by other parties that are on the extreme left, on the extreme right, but actually to listen to the ruling party, which I think actually has quite a clear mandate
but
and a clear message
inevitably,
on this issue of
Professor
land
Hall,
reform.
it's always going to be a highly emotive debate, given the difference of opinion on both sides, and we cannot ignore that noise, that rhetoric, that hurt, that anger.
Yeah, so I would agree. Listen, the land issue is tapping into something that is very important to South Africans, because the land issue is not just, it's partly about who owns the economy, who has wealth in our society, but it's also a symbolic issue. It's a symbolic issue in that who has citizenship in this country, who feels that they are recognized as citizens in this country. So I think that we are negotiating this terrain in a very complicated way. I think that what we're probably going to find is that a few things are going to happen in the next year. Within the next year, I would predict, we're coming up to elections, we're in an election cycle, and we should expect that the governing party, the ANC, is going to try and promote the Expropriation Act, which will bring the expropriation laws in line with the Constitution. Secondly, we should expect some test cases. So we must expect test cases to go to the Constitutional Court. Thirdly, I think that we are going to expect that government is going to say, not only do we as government need to have stronger powers to expropriate land, but also citizens need to have stronger powers and rights to ask the government to hold it to account. And there is the idea of a redistribution bill. So I think that we can expect a few things to happen in the next coming months. Primarily, I would say that South Africans should be hopeful that we can get this right. We can get this land reform issue right.